Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, as Nigeria tries to position itself among the leading countries in vehicle electrification in the world and reduce gas emissions, the National Automotive Design and Development Council has ratified a draft policy for the development of electric vehicles in the country. Now, the policy, when adopted, will ensure Nigeria meets its gas emission cuts, encourage local manufacturing of electric cars in the country, as well as provide a cheaper and reliable alternative from fuel vehicles. Now, this will be our focus on the show today, but before we begin, let's take a look at what made the social media trends in the past week.
There was outrage as leaked memos showed that 61 million naira was earmarked for the mass burial of 103 end-SARS protesters. Since the protests in 2020, both the Lagos state government and the federal government have consistently denied any mass killing during the end-SARS protests. In response, the Lagos State Ministry of Health confirmed in a letter late Sunday evening when insisted that details were being misconstrued. The state government argued that the victims were from incidents of violence that occurred in the aftermath of the end-SARS protests. Nigerians were delighted to see some of their favorite Big Brother Naija housemates return to their screens as the much-touted Big Brother Naija All-Stars show began airing. The show organizers brought stars from previous seasons to the delight of their fans, while some were left disappointed as the favorites didn't make the cut. With a show that will run for 10 weeks with a cash prize of 120 million naira up for grabs.
Many thanks. Well, there you go. Those were some of the trends in the past week. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us via Zoom from Lagos, Tolu Williams. He is the founder of 7 Hard Investments Technology Limited, an electric mobility ecosystem development company leading with durable and innovative electric vehicles. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Tolu.
Yes, hi. Hi, how's it going?
Going good. Thanks again for being here. We also have joining us again via Zoom from Lagos, Ibukun Adeni. He is the founder of Hack Academy. Ibukun, it's a pleasure to have you on the show as well. All right. Very well. I think your mic is is muted, so kindly unmute and then come back to you. But Tolu kicks out the conversation for us. Let's begin with this draft policy. How all-encompassing would you say it is in terms of, bringing everybody on board, looking at all of the side, everything pretty much, so to speak, now, all that we need, to make the production and adoption of what's it called, of electric vehicles in the country, how all-encompassing would you say this is?
So I'd say the start of all this is the framework and the policy. And firstly, I'd like to commend definitely the DG and the NADDC for their current work on this. And the draft policy that they gave to us last week as well was very, very encompassing. In there, you can see everything, all the incentives that we need to be able to scale electric mobility and for Nigeria to be placed as a global player in the electric mobility market, from supporting areas of interest for people like us in manufacturing and assembling, and various things as well. So a lot of the prayers that we've asked for pretty much are in that document. Importation duty waivers on EVs. We expect 0% duties on EVs to encourage adoption on the markets. And it was truly, it was very, very interesting for us because we're currently positioned in the market and we're dealing with a lot of these things in real time. So the draft and the policies that were put together in place actually really helps startups and e-mobility companies to be able to play together in essence, because rolling out e-mobility you need a lot of players. There's the energy infrastructure, there's the charging infrastructure, there's the e-mobility products themselves, and then there's even the adoption, the people who are using them. So basically, the policy and framework brought together all these players and allowed us to be able to scale effectively in the market.
Very well. So it's good you made mention of some of the things, charging, manufacturing, and all of that. Let me just pick on charging, because that's what comes to the minds of many. What's it called? People now, when they hear electric vehicles and all of that, they're beginning to think, if I perchance go ahead and purchase this e-mobile or e-mobility model, be it the two-wheeler or the four-wheeler, what comes to mind is, how do I put it on course? How do I charge? We don't have enough charging points in the country. That is it's a no-brainer for anyone. So how would that work? Pretty much.
You see, that's where experience and technical support needs to be developed in our sector. For instance, we specialize in customizing affordable and durable vehicles that work for the African terrain. And one of the major considerations there was is access to energy. Is it widely available? So we focus on battery swap technology. It's one of the ways we're able to stop downtimes and ensure that e-mobility flows seamlessly. And also a particular focus on 2- and 3-wheel electric vehicles, which we believe is the fastest route to market because they require lower energy consumption to charge. You're looking at about 0.8 kilowatt hour to 2 to 3 to 5 at best, which is readily available. Inverters, small generators, big generators, the discos can provide this. It's widely available to the mass market. So that's one of the ways that we're able to ensure that e-mobility is widely adopted, because when you look at the other kinds of vehicles as well, they require much larger energy infrastructure. And when we're looking at mass markets in Nigeria, how many people are going to afford a Tesla or an electric car? And we want these effects to be telling on the mass markets, especially with the subsidy removal as well. We want to be able to give people affordable mode of transportation for way cheaper. Even though there's a hike in the tariff for electricity, you find that charging your electric motorcycle or tricycle or bike or even car is still cheaper than actually fueling your vehicle. Like an example,
that's in the long run.
Yeah. Yes, in the long run, yes. So what I was saying is, for example, daily riders and Okada riders are using, let's say, 8 to 10 liters in a day. If we're looking at 7 to 10,000 in fueling costs, definitely with the recharge cost of, let's say, 3 kilowatt an hour, they're looking at anything below 700, 600 naira. So, at this point, it's a no-brainer. We definitely have to adopt e-mobility at scale within the country.
So some believe the future is now, but let me get to Ibukun Adeni, just get his thoughts as well on adoption. Ibukun, looking at all of these things, hike in electricity, tariff, what's it called? Also the increase in petrol price, and also even the electricity. How available is it? How well do you think, the adoption would also be? Don't forget that obtaining or purchasing, an e-vehicle or e-bike also doesn't come, any cheaper.
Okay, so I must say the first thing that we must understand is, whether we like it or not, electric vehicle is the future. It is just simply better. It's more advanced technology, so it is coming. Right? Now, what that journey is going to be like is what we now have to now analyze and predict and dissect. So, first of all, the first issue that needs to be solved is the infrastructural issue. EVs are coming against an industry that's been around for over 100 years. The internal combustion engine type vehicles have been around for over 100 years. So, it has been able to secure its value chain. You know, if you look at an internal combustion engine, you need a mechanic, you need a rewire, you need petrol stations, you need everything to be able to provide service to this vehicle, right? So those infrastructures, the skills, the talents, the experience, it has been built over so long, right? Now, this is the electric vehicle industry has been picking up over the past 10 years, majorly. So it still has a very, very, very long way to go, right? In cases like this, usually it usually starts as a luxury product, right? It would usually first come in as a luxury product. So meaning that the elites, the first people, when we were riding horses in the world, the first people that moved from horses to cars were the elites, right? So naturally, the first people that will move from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles will be the elite. So, you know, so I expect that the marketing, the first, you know, marketing that should be going into something, a product like this, should be to the high income earners in the society. They are most likely going to be the earliest adopters of this technology. You know, so then from the when you sell to high income earners, you get large returns. You know, there's an opportunity to make more money. With those kind of money, you begin to slowly build the infrastructure. You need a wide range of charging stations. You need, people in Nigeria drive from Lagos to Abuja. So you need that, okay, if I'm going to Abuja from Lagos in a Tesla, I should be able to charge my car along the road till I get to Abuja. You know, so you need internal charging stations. You need interstate charging stations. You know, so there's a whole lot of infrastructure that needs to be put in place before we can begin to see that great adoption. That's wide adoption. Then there's also the manufacturing problem, right? Right now, EV sales accounts for maybe about 14% thereabout of all vehicle sales annually, right? Now, we must also know that this is new sales. There's already tons and tons of existing internal combustion engines that have been in the system. So who is the largest manufacturer of electric vehicles, and how many cars can they really manufacture in a year? So, and in Nigeria now, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, we have about 11 million cars in Nigeria. So before a manufacturer can manufacture even 50% of that and to the Nigerian market, right? Because when they are manufacturing EVs, I'm sure that if you're a manufacturer and of course you're a capitalist, the first place you want to sell to is to the US, to China, to Europe. You know, these are the companies, the countries that you know that, okay, your products will fly off the shelf, right? So before Nigeria gets to that point, I feel like we're still a little bit, you know, we're still maybe like 10 years away. You know, there's still so many things that there's so many problems that we generally have to solve in Nigeria before we can, you know, see this future that we know is clearly coming.
Yeah.
You know, Nigeria has no choice. Do you get? So, you know, so it's nice to see what people are doing in the e-mobility space in Nigeria, but there's so many challenges that need to be solved in the value chain, and so many players have to come into it to make this a reality.
All right. Again, let me bring Tolu quickly. You know, looking at you know, Iwokun made mention of something. You know, he said, you you'll be traveling from Lagos to Abuja, and I'm thinking if anything happens along that line, what next?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess Ibuku's focus is more on like the EV adoption coming from the high end down, and really in this country, that's really not what we're trying to focus on. We're trying to give relief from subsidies. So for me, it's mass market adoption. That's why the focus, I think the quickest road to adoption is through 2- and 3-wheel vehicles, because the charging infrastructure is readily available in each and every household. So you don't need to buy a Tesla and then buy a dedicated generator to charge your vehicle. You know, you can easily charge at home, you can charge in school, you can charge at work, and battery swap technology as well allows us to be able to scale this effectively. There are also other companies as well focused on the commercial deployment space for Okada riders as well. Companies like Max Okada are working well in that space. And I just truly believe that for us to have this mass market and not do it as a pilot or do it in, it looks good, we deployed a few vehicles here and there, but we really want to move the needle, we really want to cut emissions, we really want to give people subsidy relief, then we need to invest in 2 and 3-wheel mobility at scale.
Well, let me just let you hold your thoughts there for a bit. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at more things that needs to be done for this adoption, for Nigeria to adopt at a larger scale. That's the e-mobility. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists joining us via Zoom, both of them from Lagos. Ibukun, let me just get your thoughts on this. You earlier mentioned, the fact that, people drive, from point A to B. But I'm just thinking, if you're driving from point A to B, for instance, like you made mention earlier on, Lagos to Abuja, and your car develops a fault, how do you get it fixed in the middle of nowhere, so to speak?
So the thing about even EVs actually is that a lot of them, the well-manufactured ones, right, are actually even more durable than even the internal combustion engines. They don't need servicing. I know the Tesla requires service maybe 1 in 10 years. The biggest problem you have is maybe over the lifespan of your battery, which you should be able to estimate in the duration of using your car. So naturally, it's even more durable, right? Against all the bias use, you'll find out that even in water, the Tesla is even more durable in water than a petrol car, right? So, but there's still the adoption issue. There's still the, everything about the electric vehicle is manufactured differently. The kind of air conditioning that a Tesla uses is not the same. The compressor it uses is not the same compressor that a regular car uses. The car is built totally differently. So if you have a problem along the road, that's a problem that right now you can't really solve. So that's why I say that the adoption of a technology like this, has to be with the elites. Now, even in the 2-wheel and in the 3-wheel space, so we're talking about Keke Napep and Okada rides, it would still, for the first people that would still adopt this kind of technologies, the regular Okada man is going to find it difficult because there's that bias, of, okay, what happens? What if I have an accident? Now, we're not even talking about wear and tear here. We're talking about I have an accident, how do I fix this thing? How readily are the parts available? So you'll find out that the people, even in the 2-wheel space, you still want to look at the high income earners of the 2-wheel space. Now, what I mean by that is the most popular use case of 2-wheel bikes in Nigeria now is maybe delivery, right? So if I want to sell an EV, like a 2-wheel EV, I want to sell to maybe a very high-end restaurant, right? That is selling maybe like salad, maybe all these healthy meals that are very, very expensive, and market it to them that, okay, you're selling salad, you're selling green, you're selling healthy. Why don't you use an electric vehicle to deliver this product? So a lot of the marketing around products like this should be around, elite, the elite mindset, just things like that, green energy solution, things like that. Because when it comes to cost for it, right, on the long run, it's a long-term game, right? You get a long-term benefit. You get the benefits maybe where you're talking about, okay, you want to buy 10 liters of petrol, right? And the electric vehicle doesn't have that. But the initial setup cost of the vehicle is way higher. And for low-income earners, that initial setup cost is more important than the long-term cost, because the long-term cost is going to come in is being matched with like the revenue generated. You get, so if petrol price is going up, delivery price is going up, but the money to first get into the system,
that's where the problem
always going to be a problem.
Yeah,
that's where the challenge comes in.
All right, let me come to Tolu. Tolu, so speaking of the DG of NADDC, that's the Automotive Design and Development Commission. He made mention of making available that's if and when the policy is fully in place. That maybe there would be a payment plan. For those who would want to purchase, the be it the bikes, be it the two-wheelers, 3 or 4-wheelers, you provide a payment plan. I mean, how feasible is that? Because, you just never can tell, things can just go wrong. People can abscond, how would that work, if at all?
Yeah. Those are the realities of it, but there are different organizations that are structured enough to be able to give people adequate payment plans. But I think another thing we should highlight in the document is actually the avenues to assemble and manufacture, which actually cut down the cost of the EVs. For instance, the Nigerian-made Falcon were aiming to a cost of about 650,000. Which I think is about the same price as an Okada, and is able to give you 300-kilometer range, and you'll be able to charge just normally anywhere you go, with a low energy consumption rate. So I think in the documents as well, there are different ways to all the challenges that Ibuku mentioned in terms of the high upfront costs. That there are different policies and frameworks that would allow us to be able to actually bring this to the market. Definitely paying over time, lease to own and rental basis is definitely one of the ways. But I think in focusing in manufacturing and assembling the batteries, because don't forget that 40 to 50% of the cost of the EV is the battery. So we're trying to eliminate that cost from the user. The other platforms as well have subscription as well. You can actually subscribe into battery swap networks. So that absolutely takes out the cost of the vehicles. So there are many ways, with a lot of experience and technical support from the right players, I believe we can easily scale this. E-mobility is not something that's in the future. It's something that's happening right now. We have electric vehicles on the road. Yes, it's a very small percentage, but they're working well, and I think we have all the means, and it's all encompassed in the framework and policy document that the NADDC shared last week.
Well, I guess some of us would have to perhaps get a piggy bank and start dropping one or two thousands in there, so to be able to at least get to that point where you can even make that initial payment plan before you spread your payments across. But let's wait and see how all of that is going to play out. I have to say thank you to Lee Williams for joining us today on the show. He joined us via Zoom from Lagos, founder of Siltech, as well as Ibukun Adeni. Thanks as well for joining us, founder of Hack Academy. Well, like you said, adoption it's here. So let's hope that adoption will be as fast as possible, so that we cut our emissions, help the environment, and just have this cheaper alternative of mobility. Thanks again to both of you, for sharing your thoughts on this issue on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have to wait and see. Who knows, 5-10 years, e-cars, e-bikes might just be the way to move around in the country. But you never can tell. We have to wait and see. That's how we'll wrap it up on the show today. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. Would leave you with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week.
The dismantling of an illegal pipeline and arrest of suspects by the Navy in Rivers State kicks off this week's most viewed videos.
From down, talk, drag it.
It is followed by the claim made by former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, that the NDDC is a cash cow of the Niger Delta.
Ought to be done by NDDC if it was a development commission. Unfortunately, what we have is Niger Delta cash cow.
These are the pistols that were concealed inside the drum.
Third Spot sees the video of customs officers intercepting a cache of arms and ammunition in Lagos ports.
This was seen inside the container, in 40-footer containers during physical examination in PTML command.
In seconds, the arrest of a man for allegedly selling 3 of his kids in River State.
When he came into my office, he sat down. He told me that didn't I have an idea of people who will take his baby and give him money.
In your statement or what we have in our case, it is obvious that you are actually planning to rob that.
While the top spot is taken by a parade of the suspected attacker and Apostle Suleiman, as well as other criminals by the police.
And you are all picked. Every other thing will continue. When the time comes, you can go and be saying this in court when you get to court. The judge is there